Hello everyone and welcome to The Big Story, where we discuss the hottest topics of the day right in the heart of the newsroom. I'm Haryanto, coming to you live from the Straits Times. Now we are streaming live on Facebook and on YouTube, so be sure to like, comment and share our video. While you are at it, make sure that you click the bell button so that you'll be alerted when we go live. Now I'll be joined by my newsroom colleagues to talk about the stories that got you talking today. Now first up, bus and train fares could go up by as much as 7% next year. This means fares could increase by as much as 10 cents for those who pay for their journeys by card. This is the maximum increase allowed under the current fare formula. The increase is driven largely by steeply rising energy prices. If approved, the fare increase would be the highest in recent years. Now to tell us more, I have Transport and Housing Editor Karamjit Kaur. Welcome, Karam.
Thank you, Aaron.
Nice to have you here. Now, Karam, the Public Transport Council, or PTC, carries out this annual fare review exercise. For a start, maybe if you could tell us, how do they decide on this fare increase and the cap?
Right, so that's a good question to start with, because it allows us to explain to people how this cap, as you say, is reached. So every year there's this exercise that the Public Transport Council, PTC, does, and where they will invite the public transport operators to make submissions for any fare adjustments, but it is always subject to a cap. So this year, the proposed increases cannot be more than 7%.
Yep.
Last year it was 4.3%, and so to a normal lay person, a normal commuter, a valid question to ask is, how do they arrive at this number? Do they just pluck it from the air?
Yeah.
So no, they don't. There actually is a formula that the PTC uses to decide on the cap, and there are five major factors that go into this. Three of them general macro economic indicators.
Yeah.
So what is the consumer price index, which tracks inflation over the last year? They look at the wage index, which tracks how wages have moved. They also look at energy prices. That's probably a key component, given that it is a significant part of the operating costs of SMRT and SBS. The fourth factor that they look at is what they call productivity gains. So this essentially refers to, if and when the transport operators make gains because they're more cost effective and they're more efficient, then those gains should be shared between the companies and commuters. So that's like a positive in that sense. And the last factor is what the PTC refers to as network capacity factor. This is a little more confusing and complicated. Essentially, it just looks at actual ridership against extra capacity added. So they look at all of these factors and then they derive a figure. And this year it's a maximum of 7%, which, as you said earlier, would translate into a maximum of an increase of 10 cents for the majority of commuters.
So there is an array of factors that goes into deciding the increase. So again, we mentioned expected maximum increase allowed is 7%, and it's likely the highest ever. Why so? Why this 7% then?
Yeah, so yes, so as far as we know, it is most probably the highest ever in the last 6 years at least. And so to understand that, we go back to the factors, right? Like I talked about, consumer price index, the wage index, and all of these have risen in the last year. And then also energy prices. So according to the PTC, these have gone up by double digit. It went up double digit in 2017 and again in 2018. So when those numbers increase, then you would imagine that would then translate to a higher cap, which is why it's 7%. Last year it was 4.3%. So there is a huge gap just between last year and this year.
And is PTC expected to allow this max increase? Would they go for 7% straight?
Okay, so that's like gazing into the crystal ball to some extent. So my own take is that I think it will be the maximum 7%, and I'll tell you why. So last year the maximum that was allowed was 4.3%.
4.3, yes.
And eventually PTC approved 4.3%. This year it's 7%, but that's not the only reason why I say I think it will be the maximum. I think to some extent the writing has been on the wall, is on the wall already. Transport Minister Khaw Boon Wan has said on several occasions that fares have to increase, must increase. to ensure that operations are sustainable.
Yeah.
You know, SMRT, SBS, you know, they've spent a considerable amount of funds in the last 3 to 4 years, because, you know, if you remember, we had all those major breakdowns before that, and so a lot of investments have been put into maintenance and, you know, replacing parts, the whole signalling system. And so he has mentioned on at least 3 or 4 occasions, including once in Parliament, that, you know, if fares do not go up, it will be unsustainable. He points to the fact that both SMRT and SBS are running their train businesses, you know, with operating losses.
But I'm just thinking, Karim, okay, so, you know, public transport is considered public good, right? And if it's public good, shouldn't the government then, you know, step in to provide for it? You know, why are we still thinking about fare increase, you know, and eventually, you know, passing on these costs to consumers?
So again, I think this is, you know, it's a debate discussion that really has gone on for years and years. But I guess it becomes a bit more talked about now because of, you know, the increase last year and, you know, most likely this year as well. And again, I think we go back to the fact that to some extent, you know, the government is, not to some extent, the government does subsidize rail operations. Today, they subsidize more than 30% of the operating cost of both SBS and SMRT trains. In the next 5 years, over the next 5 years rather, the government is expected to spend another $4.5 billion to, you know, provide operating subsidies, and that's on top of $25 billion that has, you know, will be you know, earmarked to build new lines, which includes the Cross Island line that you know, we talked about here just about 2 days ago. So they are already in that sense subsidizing, you know, and also, you know, I think at the end of the day we need to also realize that when we say that let's have the government pay you know, for everything, you know, so that then fares hopefully can even reduce, if not stay where they are. Then you know, the question also to ask is, where is this government funding coming from? Because at the end of the day, government pays means taxpayers pay. You know, so that's a discussion, you know, that has been going on. I would imagine will continue. To, you know, go on, and I guess at the end of the day, just, you know, striking
is really
a balance.
Looking at then where the source of this money is going to come from, right? Whether if it's consumers paying the fares, or if, let's say, government is going to go full on, then it'll be taxes, right? Taxpayers' money. So, you know, talking about, okay, 7% expected increase. What about needy commuters, and are there plans to provide assistance to needy commuters?
So if you look at, you know, the experience in past years, and the PTC also made the same point yesterday when they announced this, is that, you know, typically they would look at lower income households, and what they usually do is to issue transport vouchers for, you know, this segment of society, to ensure that, you know, they don't necessarily have to face the full brunt of the increases. If indeed it is 7%, which, as I said, I think, you know, it will be. So that, you know, we do expect that there will be some help.
There's some help there,
you know, going to them, which you know, should be done, and should continue. Again, of course, we still don't know. The fare review exercise is ongoing, or it will take place. So really, we don't know what's going to happen, and if it does kick in, it will kick in next year. So of course, you know, continue to follow the news on our website at www.straitstimes.com, and I think some comments as well I'm seeing on our Facebook, you know, giving suggestions and all that. Keep, like what Karim mentioned, keep the conversation going, you know, really, because at the end of the day, it affects everybody, right? Public transport is public good, you know, it affects everybody, and we do take public transport one form or another. Of course.
So once again, thank you so much, Karim, for, you know, taking time off to be with us here to share a bit more about the bus and fare and train fares that could likely increase next year. Now, moving on to our second segment, now to world news. The political turmoil in Britain continues as British lawmakers defeated Boris Johnson in a parliament in a bid to prevent him from taking Britain out of the EU without a divorce agreement. This prompted the Prime Minister to announce the call for a snap election. Today, the lawmakers will seek to pass a law forcing Johnson to ask the EU to delay Brexit for a third time until January 31st unless he has a deal approved by Parliament beforehand on the terms of the exit. Now, closer to home, the pressures of Brexit coupled with the ongoing Hong Kong protests have said to derail Temasek Holdings' $4 billion Watson sale. So what's next for Britain and Brexit? To tell us more, I have foreign editor Jeremy Au Yong. Now, welcome, Jeremy.
Thanks, Haryanto.
Sure. First up, Jeremy, so how will calling for an election really help Johnson's case? Is he even able to do that?
Whew, how much time do you have?
We'll keep it succinct. We'll keep it succinct.
Okay, I'll try not to get too deep into the weeds here, but let's just preface everything by saying the situation is a mess. It's complicated and really the outcome is difficult to predict. Okay, but let's give you a bit of background. So you asked me how this election will actually help Johnson. Well, we don't know if it will help. So his basic position since taking over from Theresa May, it was just maybe 1.5 months ago, his basic position was that Britain would leave the EU on October 31st. That's the current deadline. On October 31st, do or die. Whatever happens, he wants UK out of the EU on October 31st. His specific words were no ifs or buts. If they have a deal, they don't have a deal, whatever the case, Brexit should happen. I guess one of the big problems is most of the MPs, a large majority of the MPs don't agree with this hardline position. And he has actually been taking some quite drastic measures to get his way. So the big news last week was that he prorogued a procedure to suspend Parliament. He suspended Parliament for 3 weeks, very much longer than normal time. In effect, to try and limit the amount of time MPs have to table motions or file legislation that could get in his way.
Right. And
that brought us to actually what happened yesterday. The MPs came back from their summer recess, and one of the first things they did was to table a motion to seize the agenda again from the government. So already in Parliament, government sets the legislative agenda. Yesterday, MPs voted to say, hey, tomorrow we want to have a vote on our bill, and that is the bill that would take no deal off the table. Okay. And he reacted to that by calling for an election. Okay.
So what happens next now that all this has happened? You say it's basically in a mess, right? What can we expect then from now till the stipulated time of going out on October 31st?
Okay, so today in the UK, you will get this motion for an election. If that passes, it will mean there will be a general election taking place most likely sometime in mid-October.
Okay.
That's 2 weeks before the Brexit deadline. If that happens, well, one of two broad ways that could go. If Boris Johnson's party, the Conservatives, win, he would see that as having a mandate to push from the voters, push his agenda through, and his agenda is Brexit. Okay, so right now, as of yesterday, there is no party in British Parliament that has a majority.
Okay.
Because of defections or people getting booted out. The Conservatives had a one-member MP majority entering last night's debate. Today, they don't have a majority. He has an election, he wins, he has a mandate again to push his agenda. If he loses, that would mean the Labour, the anti-Brexit people camp has won. And most likely situation, if the anti-Brexit camp wins, is that they will go to EU and ask for another extension. And then during the extension, it sounds like most likely they will call a second referendum to see if the people of the UK still want to leave.
Or not. Okay. So while all this is happening, of course, in Britain, in the UK, people are asking, how does it affect Singapore then? I mean, okay, if at all, right? It affects. And we know that when it happened, the pound did after all sink below US $1.20. Does it affect Singapore in any way?
Well, you can look at it two ways. First, in terms of just for the ordinary consumer.
Yeah.
If you are you have a planned a holiday in the UK,
Yep.
or you are students studying in
Yep.
UK, you know, a low pound is a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Everything is pound used to be very expensive, so now everything is a little bit cheaper. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
If you are, however, a Singaporean business selling things to London, or you have, you know, we have a lot of Singaporean businesses that actually have outlets in London.
Yeah.
Then an unstable economy is no good. If you are Singapore as a trading nation, then this Brexit uncertainty adds to global uncertainty. In Hong Kong, in the trade war, global uncertainty is no good for business in general. It's no good for the economy.
And that is what happened for the Watson
Watsons,
deal, right? That I mentioned.
Yeah.
That it affects and it derails. It has it to derail sales.
I mean, just in general, if you're a business trying to make investments, you really do want to know what to expect.
Yeah.
If you can't figure out, even in the UK, whether it's going to be part of EU in the next 2 months, it's very hard to make a long-term or even medium-term investment decision.
Yeah, but like you said, of course, you know, things are still very messy there. You know, things can go both ways, like you mentioned as well. And of course, you know, bills are still being passed. They are still making decisions, and even lawmakers themselves, they don't know where to go with all the direction. Of course, things are still developing in UK. For more information on this Brexit and the general election, if it were to happen, then you can visit our website at www.straitstimes.com.
I do want to plug our new Asian Insider video series.
Yes, please.
So we do a video once a week that does a deep dive into one for a global news topic.
Right.
This week, of course, that topic is Brexit.
Okay.
So our host, the US Bureau Chief Nirmal Ghosh, will be interviewing our global correspondent, Jonathan Eel, who is based in London, and they will talk about Brexit. Viewers can go and look for that video on ST's YouTube page tomorrow night.
Right. And of course, Jonathan himself also has written a few commentaries on Brexit and whatever that has happened as well.
He's working very hard this week.
He's working very hard as well. So, you know, for all these resources, again, like what Jeremy mentioned, you can go onto our website and even on our YouTube page for the videos on Brexit. Once again, thank you so much, Jeremy, for coming onto the show to talk about Brexit. Now, on to our third and final segment. Homegrown shopping platform Shopee opened its new regional headquarters in Kent Ridge yesterday, in line with Singapore's push into the digital economy sector. The 6-story building is almost 6 times larger than its previous one in Science Park Drive and can accommodate up to 3,000 employees. Now, ST understands that the e-commerce platform giant will look to hire more data analysts, data scientists, software engineers and developers who specialize in machine learning and artificial intelligence. Since its launch in 2015, Shopee has grown significantly with operations in 7 places, including Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia and Vietnam. To share more, I have journalist Melissa Heng. Welcome, Mel.
Hi.
So nice to have you here. So, Mel, understand that Deputy Prime Minister Heng Swee Keat, he officiated the opening, right? And he said in his speech that Shopee's growth is aligned with Singapore's plans to position itself as a hub to harness the potential of the growing digital economy. Can you, briefly tell us more on that?
Right, so basically he said that as the Southeast Asian economies continue to grow, Singapore needs to make sure that these companies doing business in the region want to be based in Singapore, right? And that like Shopee, use Singapore as a headquarters to then venture out into the region. So in growing our digital economy and building capabilities, this will hopefully translate to more jobs for Singaporeans as well.
Yeah.
And
Shopee also is planning to expand, right?
Yeah, correct. So Shopee has been doing really well over the last 4 years since it started. And they started, I think, with like 10 employees, and now they have 1,500 staff. In moving to this new 6-story building, they've said that they hope to expand to 3,000 staff.
Right.
So that's a lot of new positions open.
And Mel, Shopee has grown significantly, and you mentioned that as well, right? Over the past years, and has even gotten an international football superstar as its spokesperson, right? Ronaldo himself. Now, this is a testament definitely to its growth. What has contributed to this? You know, how is it able to grow so much?
Right. I think everyone kind of knows that online shopping has been growing.
Yeah.
People love shopping online. It's very convenient, and it's only getting more and more convenient,
Yeah.
right? People are not just shopping on their desktops, on their computers, but it's so easy to do shopping online and on your phones now as well. So you can really shop anywhere, anytime.
Yeah.
You know, when you're traveling, when you're getting ready for bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that definitely has added to more consumers going online to shop.
Yeah.
At the same time, there's also a growing middle class in Southeast Asia,
Yeah.
right? Not just in Singapore, but
Yeah.
in all the countries around us as well. So that just means that more people have like spending power, and these people are the ones going online to shop.
Definitely. So Mel, we had this chat earlier on as well as we were discussing this, and you mentioned that you went, of course you were at the
Right.
office itself, and you know, the way you describe it to me, it's really like those typical modern day office spaces that are becoming increasingly popular these days. You know, you have the likes of like Google, Spotify, you know, Netflix. Tell us more, you know, about what the office space looks like.
Right. So yeah, Shopee actually has really quite a nice office. They have a really large gym with many like treadmills.
Yeah.
They have multiple pantries and all the snacks and fruits and drinks there.
Yeah.
There's like ice cream fridges. At the same time, they also have like sleep pods on every
wow.
level for all their employees, so you can go and like take a
Take a
nap.
nap.
Yeah, and they also have like in-house masseuse. Yeah.
Oh,
so each employee gets 2 30-minute sessions every month.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is more than enough, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, it looks like our office has a lot to do in ramping up all these offerings. But of course, you know, exciting times ahead for Shopee, and really, you know, exciting times ahead as well for the digital economy sector here in Singapore. And really, you know, for our viewers out there, if you're looking to get into this market, hey, you know, who knows, you might actually have an opportunity with Shopee, right?
Yeah.
They are looking to get up to 3,000 employees, right? Almost doubling their current employee count right now. So once again, thank you so much, Mel, for coming on to the show. Now, earlier on, of course, we had our transport and housing editor, Karim, to tell us more about the bus and train fare that could possibly go up next year by up to 7%. And then we had our foreign editor, Jeremy, to tell us more about Brexit and really what's next and how does this whole turmoil and this whole mess that is happening in UK affect Singapore. And we also spoke to Mel right here to tell us more about Shopee's new office here in Singapore. So definitely exciting times ahead for the digital economy sector here in Singapore. So that is all we have for you for our top stories. For more news and videos, do log on to our website at www.straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Haryanto. Join us tomorrow, same time, for more stories on A Big Story.